Hey rock stars, Lij Shaw, and I'm coming to you from Winter NAMM 2018, and I'm standing here with Dave Derr of Empirical Labs. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm glad to be here.
It's so cool to have met you recently and have a chance to actually interact with you like this. Rock stars, if you're not familiar with Empirical Labs, Dave, he created the Distressor, which is one of the greatest compressors I've ever had the pleasure of using on records, recording, mixing, any aspect of it. But I know you have a whole line of wonderful things, and more importantly, you've got two fantastic plugins you want to show us today.
Yeah. We just recently in the last year started moving more heavily into the plugin world. And before that, we did have a universal audio Fatso out. That's almost 10 years old. That was our first foray into it. And now we're kind of dedicating a lot of our efforts and resources to more plugins. And so today, I would like to go over the two latest offerings because they're very similar and yet they're different. And I'm going to go basically through the similarities and the differences and which one might be more appropriate to you.
Well, and I think a little bit of confusion maybe that you've heard too is with two great plugins that might seem similar in some ways, the question is well, which one am I supposed to get? And I think we're here to dispel that question as just a moot question because you may actually just need them both, right?
You need them both.
All right, cool. Well, let's dig in and I'll let you show us what's going on here. Up on the screen, I guess we got them ready to go.
Yeah, the first one I'm going to talk to you about is Distressor from Universal Audio, and this is only a month or two old. And as you can see, we basically split the Distressor in half so things could be bigger and less mouse movement on the screen. Great big white knobs that are always on our stuff, and you can see they kept everything else is identical. To start with, for Distressor lovers, if you want a Distressor plug-in, this is probably going to be your baby to get you started because this is a really amazingly close emulation. We were down to microns, of the curves and time constants.
Well, I mean, Universal Audio is also known for making really faithful emulations of hardware in plugins, right? And I noticed there are a couple of things that might be different from the hardware.
The mix.
You've got a mix knob, right?
Yes, we had to add that mix because in the software world, it's just almost so easy. Why not? But also very, very useful. So
super cool. And then what's HR?
That's headroom. That's actually another little feature that basically gives you more or less crunch. It lets the input operate at different levels.
Nice.
If you have a track that's really low level, you would make one adjustment for that. If you have a track that's really hot levels, you can use another setting for that, and all the controls will work in a nice range.
All right, well, let's dig in. So what else do we want to know about the UA Distressor or the Empirical Labs Arousor?
Again, this is really almost an exact emulation of the Distressor. They have the full opto capability here, and they did an amazing job, really amazing. So the main thing with this is if you want a Distressor because you have your settings that you know and you want to go to, this is what you want to get. These are both the same price, incidentally, $299 right now. You're not going to go wrong with the UA Distressor because it's an amazing emulation.
Well, I could never have an actual Distressor for $299, and I certainly couldn't have one on every track I want for $299. So it's pretty awesome to have the plug-in that way.
I won't mention any names, but two or three major producers have written me and said, I don't have to limit my Distressor to the drum track anymore or to the vocal track.
Right.
Because now I've got 40 Distressors on the tracks, and everybody's really thrilled with it. So if you want a Distressor, that's the way to go because it is exact behavior pretty much. All
right, dig it. And so now tell us about the Arousor.
All right, the Arousor is kind of Empirical Labs' internal version of what the Distressor would have been in an ideal world for us, with a few more ratios, with a few more features.
A few more ratios right here. You got more selections. Rivet. I dig that. I don't even know what that is, but I like it already.
Nuke. Rivet is Nuke. We just, again, because of trademark stuff and because I knew we were going to do a UA Distressor, we tried to keep everybody out of the way. So we used a Rivet which is it is the same ratio as Nuke. We actually reordered the actual ratios here. As an example, what used to be 3-to-1 on the Distressor was actually a little steeper than 3-to-1.
Okay, cool.
Measured, and it pisses some people off. We actually made it read out as a 4-to-1. So in other words, the 3-to-1 on the real Distressor is the same curve as 4-to-1 on the Arousor.
But honestly, you know, for me, if I'm using the plugin and I just like 4-to-1, I'm just going to remember it was 4-to-1, and I won't care what it was related to later, you know.
Yeah. But if you do really want to get a Distressor reference, we tell you under this help menu very clearly how to figure out where you want to go. So just a couple other things that we introduced here. One is a thing called attack modification, or AT-mod. That was a very specific thing that happens in old analog compressors without any control and without you knowing about it. And it being in the digital domain, we actually make it completely controllable.
So this is going to allow me to get like the detail of a pick just right, or the consonants of a vocal just right.
Yeah, and it is just the very front edge it affects. It's the stuff that it affects is the first millisecond, I would say.
Cool, man. And then what else we got? Then we get into soft clipping here.
Soft clipping. We instead of selecting, for instance, over here, the distort 1, regular distort 2, distort 3, we threw in a knob that allows you to vary the amount over a huge range. This allows you to really fine-tune how much crunch you want in there.
Distortion.
Actually, this is a bar graph that gives you an indication.
Oh, I got it. Okay, cool.
If you end up getting this, you're going to love this, because the saturation is so smooth, you don't really know until it might be too late. And then again, we have, just to expand some of the stuff, the sidechain EQ. We basically offer the same basic functions, which is a high pass and a band pass here. And what we did is we made the high pass a little more adjustable. You can sweep from off to up to 1 kilohertz. And then the parametric also. And by the way, we give you the clue to where the default to match the Distressor with these little blue dots.
Nice.
You go there. This is how far you would boost it to match the Distressor band pass. This is a fully parametric, so anywhere between 40 hertz and 10 kilohertz, you can move that frequency. Lastly, we too put in the mix, because in the digital world you really want to have that, because it's so easy to do.
What's this little, is that an E button there or something? What is that?
It sure is. I'm glad you asked. The one thing that we did with this, because we hope that this someday becomes kind of our flagship plug-in.
Dig it.
And this E is the first edition of Rev 2. And when you click on this, it stands for Expert. And you can see this brings up another control. And what this, in this case, this allows you to match the dry level exactly to the compressed level. These E buttons, without going into any detail, are going to show up on all these other sections with more features. And lastly, to kind of finish this out, we spent almost a year trying to figure out how are we going to introduce these features, and we said we can't do it right now but we want to get it out. You know, I don't want to hold this thing up.
Smart, right? That's the whole MVP, minimum viable product kind of thing. Being able to pivot and iterate and everything. That's great.
Exactly. So we didn't want to hold that up. So what we did instead is we held it up, planning how to release these features, these 16 new features over the years. And the way we came up with, without changing the interface, was these little E buttons. Anybody who has Rev 1 won't have that E button. Rev 3 will have 2 more E buttons. Okay, so lots of stuff coming down the way. But again, the basic gist is, if you want a Distressor that behaves just like a Distressor, you're going to want to go with a UA. With all your familiar settings, they'll all come up and sound just like the real hardware does.
Yeah.
If you want our customized, little bit more evolvable plug-in, go with the Arousor. And if you're really smart, you're just going to get both.
Right on. Well, Rockstars, I will go ahead and preface this by saying that, in my experience, the stuff that Dave makes and the The Distressor is the kind of thing that you just jump in and start turning the knobs, hit the switch, pick a few settings, and you really don't get caught up in complexities and stuff. It really is instant gratification, and things just sound killer. So if you're trying to record vocals, guitars, bass, drums, everything, the Distressor is the right plugin for you, and you should check it out for sure. Dave, thanks so much for doing this with us, man. We really appreciate it.
Can I say just one more thing? The UA Distressor is now available from UA's site, just in the last month or so. So go check it out.
All right. So how can the rock stars find the UA site? How can they find Empirical Labs and get your plugins?
If they go to uaudio.com, that's UA Audio, or empiricallabs.com.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. In your face. And by the way, if you forget the first one, just go to Empirical Labs, because if you hit software, we have a link that will take you right to UA Distressor.
And then do you guys have a demo or anything like that for people to check out the plugin? 15
days. 15 days.
Okay, cool.
In fact, both of them have free demos.
So thanks, Dave. Really appreciate you being on Recording Studio Rockstars.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Rockstars, if you enjoyed this video and you want to check this stuff out, please follow the link below. And remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. And drop a comment in below and, I don't know, say hi to Dave in the comments. Tell us what you love about a Distressor, the Arousor, the UA Distressor, or what sort of things you'd like to use them for in your studio, or even like what kind of challenges you really wish a compressor could solve for you in your mixes.
Yeah, who knows? You might give us some ideas for evolution.
All right, cheers. Thanks for watching.
Thanks all.